Hello guys and welcome to another video in the Software Engineer to Applied Science Transition series. In the previous videos we discussed about different stages in the transition and we deeply covered two of the stages. The first stage was Python and data analysis and the second stage was on machine learning and deep learning fundamentals. I hope you guys found those two stages and those videos useful. So today we are going to discuss about the deep learning frameworks. So after the end of this video, you will know what are the different deep learning frameworks, why should we use deep learning frameworks, and we'll go deep into some of the most popular deep learning frameworks nowadays. So you guys must be having this question in your mind, what is a deep learning framework? Why should I use it? So a deep learning framework is nothing other than a software or a library that assists and helps scientists to build deep learning models more efficiently and more accurately. So let's discuss why we should use deep learning frameworks. So deep learning models are very complex models. They have very complex mathematical functions inside them. And without these frameworks, we'll have to calculate the gradients of those functions by hand and then do back propagation using those gradients. So this is a very tedious task. Thankfully, these deep learning frameworks help us calculate the gradients automatically and do back propagation. In fact, even without a very strong knowledge on calculus, you can still build a deep learning model nowadays. Another very important reason to use these deep learning frameworks is hardware support. Training deep models on CPU can be very time consuming, and the more complex the model is, the more time it takes. And if you have more data to train, it can take even more time. Sometimes the time stretches for weeks to months. So in that case, we need specialized hardware for training deep learning models. So hardwares like GPU and TPU help us accelerate deep learning model training. So in that case, these frameworks provide us easy way to port our model data and computation from one device to another. The third reason to use these frameworks is model management. So what is model management? Once we train our models, we have to save this model and load this again when we want to use it. So for example, I build a model using a Linux machine and Python. But in future, I want to use this same model in an Android device. Or I want to use this model in a web browser using JavaScript. So how do I do that? These frameworks make it easy for me to do that. The fourth reason to use deep learning frameworks is the availability of different mathematical functions like loss functions and activation functions, which help us during training. So for example, functions like ReLU, TANH, and softmax and cross entropy loss, all these functions will be easily available in these frameworks. The fifth reason to use these frameworks is the availability of out-of-the-box optimizers. Optimizers like RMSProp, Adam, and LAM help us speed up our training process. And these frameworks already have an implementation of those optimizers. Sixth reason is distributed training. Sometimes training on one device might not be scalable at all. In that case, what we want to do is take that model and train it on multiple devices at once. And basically, we have to parallelize the training process. These deep learning frameworks also help us achieve that. The seventh reason is the optimizations that are already baked into these frameworks. Over the years, these frameworks have gone through multiple iterations of speed and accuracy related improvements, which can be very valuable for a scientist. There are many other reasons that I have not covered here, but it should be absolutely clear on why these frameworks are essential for deep model development.
Over the years, there have been many deep learning frameworks that were developed. These are some of the notable frameworks. Out of these, 3 frameworks are very popular nowadays. Most of the other frameworks are either dead or not used by many people. Out of these 3 frameworks, Keras does not have its own computation engine. It was designed to provide high-level abstraction over other deep learning frameworks like Theano, CNTK, and TensorFlow. Keras was the deep learning framework that I started with, and it is very easy to use. Last year, Keras got merged into TensorFlow and can now be used as a TensorFlow package. In summary, we have only 2 major players left, TensorFlow and PyTorch. I will go through the differences and help you decide which one to learn and use. Now let's compare these different deep learning frameworks. This Wikipedia article gives a great summary comparing different deep learning frameworks. So this is a big table, so I have condensed it into an Excel table, and I'm only focusing on TensorFlow, PyTorch and Keras. So let's have a look on how different these frameworks are and which functionality these frameworks support. So let's talk about the creator. So PyTorch was created by Facebook, and TensorFlow was created by Google, and Keras was created by an employee from Google. So PyTorch was initially released to public in 2016, TensorFlow was released in 2015, and Keras was also released in 2015. But TensorFlow was had been used in Google since a long time before that. And all these three frameworks are open source, and they have very relaxed licensing. Let's have a look into all the platforms that these frameworks support. PyTorch currently supports Linux, Mac OS and Windows for its development, but currently PyTorch also has iOS and Android development, which is not updated in this table from Wikipedia. And TensorFlow supports Linux, Mac OS, Windows, Android and also iOS. PyTorch is written in Python, C, C++ and CUDA. So CUDA is an API from NVIDIA to do GPU programming. Similarly, TensorFlow is also written in C++, Python and CUDA. Keras is completely written in Python, as this is only a high level abstraction, and all the computation is done under the hood by TensorFlow. So what are the different interfaces that PyTorch supports? So PyTorch currently supports a Python interface, C++ and Julia. TensorFlow supports Python, C++, Java, Go, JavaScript, R, Julia and Swift, and Keras supports Python and R. Now let's discuss about these two columns. So OpenMP is a multiprocessing framework, and OpenCL is a multi-platform framework. So PyTorch currently supports OpenMP, TensorFlow does not, and Keras only supports it if you are using Theano as a background, and Theano is not functional nowadays. OpenCL support, PyTorch has OpenCL support via a separately maintained package, and TensorFlow is on the roadmap, and Keras, you can use TensorFlow to do that. All these three have CUDA support, so that means all these three can run using NVIDIA's GPUs. They all support automatic differentiation, as I discussed previously. They all have pre-trained models which are already trained on huge amount of data that you guys can just take and use for your use case. They support recurrent neural networks, they support convolutional neural networks, and they also support different other architectures like deep belief network and Boltzmann models, etc. All these three support parallel execution, like the multi-node support that I discussed previously, and all of these three are actively developed now. So Keras will stop being developed as a separate framework, and since it is directly integrated to TensorFlow nowadays. So if you are already using Keras, then you should start learning TensorFlow also. Now let's discuss about TensorFlow and PyTorch in more detail, and do a fair comparison between them. First of all, we'll discuss about how popular these two frameworks are. So this article clearly explains the difference between the number of unique mentions in all these conferences between PyTorch and TensorFlow. The solid lines are PyTorch and the dotted lines are TensorFlow. So as visible, the popularity of PyTorch has been growing year over year. Before 2018, TensorFlow was very popular, but now after 2019, PyTorch has been the most popular framework among the researchers. As we see, the growth percentage for PyTorch has been tremendous. Meanwhile, the growth of TensorFlow has been decreasing among researchers. So this figure is only showing the popularity among researchers, but what is happening is in industries, TensorFlow is more popular. This article also explains why researchers love PyTorch. The main reason is the simplicity that PyTorch offers. It is very similar to NumPy, very Pythonic, and integrates easily with the rest of the Python ecosystem. And you can simply add breakpoints and debug your code very easily in PyTorch. But in TensorFlow, debugging the model requires an active session and ends up being much trickier. All these shortcomings in TensorFlow were recently addressed with the TensorFlow 2.0 release last year. So this is very interesting. Like the TensorFlow 2.0 has a mode called eager execution mode, which is very similar to PyTorch, and it is very easy to use after the new changes in Keras integration. So the future is very interesting for these two platforms. Functionality wise, these two platforms are always head to head and keep on adding new functionality and missing functionality. Even though PyTorch is getting popular among researchers nowadays, and in fact the popularity is even overcoming the TensorFlow popularity, in actual industry TensorFlow is still very dominant. So this article clearly explains what is the reason behind that. The reason is TensorFlow has been there since a long time before PyTorch, and industry is generally slow to adopt new technologies than researchers. The other reason is that TensorFlow has been better than PyTorch for production. So I would recommend you guys reading the entire article. This is a very great article showing the key differences between PyTorch and TensorFlow. Now let's discuss about PyTorch. The best place to learn about PyTorch is from its own website. So pytorch.org is the PyTorch's official website. So in the home page you can find quick start instructions how to install PyTorch on CPU, GPU, and it also gives the link to PyTorch discuss and a Slack channel where you can discuss with other people who are working with PyTorch. It also has interesting articles and blogs and tutorials and documentations. One of the important documentation is how to use PyTorch mobile, end-to-end workflow from Python to development on iOS and Android. So the framework looks like this. You create a model in PyTorch, then you using quantization you can convert it to optimize for mobile platform, then you convert it into a Torch script, and then you use it in either iOS or Android. So this functionality started from PyTorch 1.3. The current version of PyTorch is PyTorch 1.5. So this is the link to PyTorch tutorial. So PyTorch has multiple tutorials related to images, audio, text, and reinforcement learning even, and deploying models in production, all the different front-end APIs, how to optimize your model, how to do parallel and distributed training. So if you are already familiar with TensorFlow or Keras, and you just want to learn PyTorch, or you know PyTorch already, but you want to refine your knowledge, then going through these documentations and these tutorials will be a very, very good starting point. PyTorch also provides a book which is free to download, and this is a pretty good book to learn PyTorch. So if you are beginning to learn PyTorch and serious about being an applied scientist, then I would highly recommend reading this book. Now let's talk about TensorFlow. This is TensorFlow's homepage, and it says TensorFlow is an end-to-end open source machine learning platform. And yeah, the TensorFlow website is more informative than the PyTorch website. I like this website a lot. It provides a lot of videos and tutorials to start with. It also provides the pipeline to convert your model to run on Android and iOS. So you use a TF Lite converter here to deploy your model in Android. And it also has great tutorials covering images, text, structured data, interpretability, generative, estimator, etc. And it also has some instruction on how to use Keras and start building your models. To learn TensorFlow, these tutorials are also very, very good start. If you already know one of the platforms, like if you are familiar with PyTorch, then this is a great starting point. But if you want to dive deep into TensorFlow and learn the basics from the very beginning, then a book would be a great idea. And this is a book from the creator of Keras itself, and this is the second edition of the book, which is using TensorFlow 2.0. The first edition only used the Keras APIs, so I would not recommend reading the first edition of the book. I myself started from the first edition of this deep learning with Python book, and it was very enjoyable for me, and I learned a lot from that. So in this edition, this book is still being written, and only 6 chapters are available right now, but this will be available during the fall season, and you have to buy this book here, and the ebook price is around $29. So this is not free. So the PyTorch book was free, but this book is not free, so you have to buy this book, but it would be a good investment if you want to learn TensorFlow. Another book is this hands-on machine learning with scikit-learn, Keras, and TensorFlow second edition. So this is also a very good book, but this book covers other stuff also, like classification model, decision trees, and ensembles, dimensionality reduction, unsupervised learning, and then after chapter 11 it starts, chapter 10 or 11 it starts artificial neural networks and deep learning and all. So this is also a great book, but personally I had very good experience with the first edition of deep learning with Python, so I would recommend this book to start with. But for some reason, if this book is not available and you want to learn something quickly, then you can start with this book, Hands-on Machine Learning with Scikit-learn Keras.
Now let's talk about the most important question of the day. Which framework shall I use, PyTorch or TensorFlow? Personally, I am very comfortable with PyTorch, but with TensorFlow 2.0, I am very eager to try the eager mode in TensorFlow. But I know for most of you, learning both TensorFlow and PyTorch is not feasible, so I would advise to start with just one of them. Okay, so if your company is using TensorFlow already, or is completely tied to Google's ecosystem like Google Cloud and all, or if you are applying for a company where you know that they are using TensorFlow, then go ahead and start learning TensorFlow. But if you are just a beginner and you don't know what to do, and you are very interested, or you are very interested in research, then I would advise to use PyTorch, because PyTorch is easy, it is fun to use, and it is very widely adopted among the researchers. Also, the free book provided in PyTorch makes it easy to learn PyTorch. Now you guys have a clear picture on these deep learning frameworks. Please go through the study materials in the video description to gain some deeper knowledge on these frameworks. In the next videos, I will share some demos showing step-by-step guidance on how to use PyTorch and TensorFlow. So that's it for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, keep learning.